We are so delighted to be working with Bergeron Pecans, and we are making a great side dish today. And it is a little bit of a throwback side dish, um, but I'm ready for it to make a comeback. I've had it at many Baton Rouge and New Orleans restaurants. And it's great with a piece of grilled fish or shrimp or some roasted chicken. But I am so excited to be working with Bergeron Pecans and and doing this recipe for you guys, and hopefully lots more. So I'm making pecan rice, and I am using two of Bergeron's products in this pecan rice. And I'm just going to go ahead and get rolling. All right. So this box, I know many Christmases I get this gifted to me. And these pecans are basically a pantry staple for me. Um, I keep them in my pantry. I keep them in my freezer. I just feel like I've gone to so many local grocery stores and I cruise through with my cart and I always grab a bag of pecans because I always have them on hand. So I'm delighted to do this with Bergeron today. Okay, so what we're going to do is get started with our pecans, a little bit of oil, and then we're going to move in and get our aromatics and rice in the pot. So I'm going to get a little bit of moderate heat here in my pot, and I'm going to go in with our shallot extra virgin olive oil, just a good rich olive oil with that good shallot onion flavor. And then I've got Bergeron's chopped pecans. So they sell pecan halves, and then they have packages of pre-chopped pecans. And I feel like I always have both of them on hand. You could certainly chop the pecan halves, um, but those pre-chopped pecans are a great product to have on hand. So this is a third of a cup of chopped pecans in the pot with the fat, and you want to just saute them until you start to smell them getting nutty. So I'm getting those all stirred around. I'm going to let them do their thing for a minute. I want to show you all what this looks like. Let's see if I can zoom in here. So just a little bit of browning, some fat in there, and I'm going to let them sizzle a little bit, and then we're going to move on. And Reagan, definitely shout out if there's any questions. Okay, so pecans are doing their thing. They smell amazing. And what I'm going to do is go in with my aromatics. So I'm going to crank my heat up a little bit. You want to make sure you don't scorch the pecans. And I'm going to go in with some, you can do onion, you can do shallot, you could do the white part of a green onion, but it's about the about quarter or third of a cup. I'm going to get those aromatics in there and get those sauteed around with the pecans. And so I want to soften them a little bit, and then I'm going to add my raw rice. So I am using Louisiana popcorn rice. You definitely want to use a long grain rice and an aromatic rice. So jasmine, basmati would be great choices. So I'm sauteing that around. I'm going to add a little bit of fat. It's looking a little dry. I don't want anything to scorch. I'm going to add a little fat so that I can keep that going. Now, you want to make sure you get salt in before you go in with your water. And it is so difficult to salt rice after the fact. So you want to make sure you get that good heaping teaspoon of salt in there before that water goes in. Speaking of water, I forgot water. I'm going to step out as I do almost every Facebook Live. I inexplicably leave, but I'm going to go grab my water. So I'll be right back. Don't worry, I'm coming back. So I'm doing a very standard 2-to-1 ratio. So I've got a cup of rice, 2 cups of water. You could use stock, But honestly, there's so much flavor happening here between the aromatics and the toasted pecans. Really delicious. Okay, I'm going to crank this heat up a little bit because something that I want to happen is that we want this heat to go after that raw rice a little bit. So I'm going in with my teaspoon of salt, and then I've got my cup of Louisiana popcorn rice, and that goes in. Now, here's where some magic happens. So the heat works on those grains of rice and helps open them up and receive some of the seasoning and some of the fat. And that's where you end up with not your average pot of rice. We're talking about a really, really aromatic pot of rice. So I want to show you guys what this looks like. We want to get a little bit of a sizzle going. You're not looking to brown the rice. You just want it to heat. And again, you want to start to smell some of that nuttiness. It's going to smell a little starchy and a little nutty. And that's where you know the heat has gone after those grains of rice. So let me show you what this looks like. So there it is. It is shiny and glistening with the fat. You want to see that. And you want to hear a little bit of a sizzle coming from that. Okay. So I'm going to stir that around, make sure they're all getting coated. And then we're going to go in with 2 cups of water. Bring that to a boil, reduce it to a simmer. We're going to cook it for about 10 to 12 minutes. And then don't peek. We're going to shut the heat off, but leave the lid on and let it finish cooking. So let me get my water in here. Let me get my heat cranked up and get my water in here. And then we'll get a boil and move on from there. So this recipe is up on our website, and we have all the links over to Bergeron, so you can go take a look at those beautiful products that they sell. So we will be carrying their products here soon, but if you're in the Baton Rouge area, lots of our local grocery stores carry these products. I can just see them as I walk through the produce section, those big displays, and I always grab a bag. So we've got their chopped pecans in with the rice, and then we are going to garnish the cooked rice with more halves. But we're going to use a product that they sell that's a pre-roasted and salted pecan. Okay, so let's take another look at this. So you can see what this mixture looks like. You can see those bits of pecan in there. And then we want to bring that to a boil. That's getting close. And then we're going to work on our pre-cooked rice. So I'm going to set that to the back burner so I can get that going. And then move this guy over to garnish it. So I've got my pre-cooked pot here. Move that over. And then what you do is you take a scallion. And so we're going to thinly slice one scallion. Use it all. Use the white and the green. And we're going to fold that into the rice. And you want to do that pretty quickly after it's cooked because you want the heat to go after that scallion and soften those up a little bit. You want them to have a little bit of bite, but you want the heat to release some of that aroma and flavor from that scallion. All right, I've got that nicely thinly chopped, and I'm going to fold that into my rice and then garnish with those pecan halves. And this is just a great side dish that elevates rice, but it's not complicated. It doesn't take any longer than your normal pot of rice. And for my family, this is a tradition on Thanksgiving. And I remember when I was younger, before I had kids, and I took over Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is my big number of the year. It's my showstopper. So I remember when I first took over Thanksgiving from my aunt and I made this and served it, and my grandfather said, "Ooh, you serve fancy rice." And I'll never forget that. So I've got those green onions in there, and then we want to make sure we garnish with some pecan halves. So I'm going to do a couple of handfuls of those. And I love that Bergeron's has the raw pecan halves. They do some roasted pecan halves, the chopped. So lots to choose from, and all really, really good pantry staples to have on hand. All right. Let me dish some of this up. And of course, I'm going to take a bite. And for those of you who haven't seen my Facebook Lives, oh, this one's boiling. We're going to eat this one later. If you haven't seen my Facebook Lives, I, every week, talk to you all with my mouth full. Okay. And I know for some of you, it's your favorite part. But I always like to take a bite. But that is so gorgeous. We get some big pieces of pecan and green onion. And look, no more work than, not much more work than a pot of rice. And you've got something really, really special. So I would serve this at Thanksgiving alongside turkey. I've done this and done a really nice grilled piece of fish on top. You can do grilled shrimp. It's great with roast chicken, and it's frankly delicious on its own. So for my daughter, she loves this. She's a vegetarian, and this is a great protein rich meal for her. So there we have it. Classic South Louisiana pecan rice with green onions and two different kinds of Bergeron pecans. Mm, I did a good job, Reagan. You're right, it does smell good. It's rich, it's nutty. I love the bite. I love the softness and richness of the uh, chopped pecans, and then the nice bite from pecan halves and the green onions. Really, really good. Definitely make this. Thank you, you guys. Bergeron Pecans, I loved doing this. I love your product. I'm so excited that we got to be able to do this on both accounts today. We'd love to see you here in the shop, hear from you online. Come by and see us, make pecan rice, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Bergerons. Bye.